Maxine is a co-founder and managing director of Connecting Food. Connecting Food is a food company that leverages blockchain in a collaborative data sharing platform for digital audits of food authenticity and end-to-end traceability in the agri-food supply chain, addressing retailer, brands, and consumer demands for safe, environmentally and ethically sourced products. So, Maxine, blockchain has been a game changer for transparency, we all know, and we would like to share with us what are the lessons learned from collaborating with partners in Agritech ecosystem to adapt blockchain solution to agricultural realities.
Indeed. So we are actually a collaborative data platform, as you said. We are working with retailers, brands, and farming groups, so all the way along the supply chain. So it's a reality today. And we're bringing transparency and traceability into the food chain from one end to the other, but also we're helping to assess and measure and audit the reality. So actually auditing the impact on environmental, social, and safety issues along the supply chain. And blockchain is very important in that because it was mentioned in the previous roundtable. What is important is to data sharing is the basis of everything. Data sharing with consent, so knowing who owns what data, is one way also of encouraging actors to share that data. Data at the farm level has a lot of value because that's where you're measuring scope 3. That's also where you know who made what and how, all the different farming practices. That has huge value for brands, retailers, also institutions that want to be such as the EU regulation. So the consent side of things is very important. Blockchain actually lets each actor own their data and switch on or switch off that sharing function, while also supplying the proof of who shared what and when they shared that, making the data tamper-proof as well. Which means that if there are safety issues, which is the case, 2023 had the record level of food recalls in Europe, which could seem very surprising, but they are increasing every year. So safety and contentious issues are happening every single day in the food value chain. Some of that is happening upstream. We saw it with, we see it quite regularly, contaminated food contamination upstream, or it could be in the factory. So to actually know who is sharing what and when in a blockchain protected way is very important to be able to resolve those issues. And blockchain is building trust among different stakeholders, so willing to share. But also technology becomes a trusted third party for institutions such as the EU for regulation, or for brands, or for consumers. We're actually seeing that every day in the work we're doing with all the different actors along the chain. So there are some lessons also that need to be taken into account, because blockchain can do certain things, but it's not the magic wand. It can only guarantee ownership, guarantee infallibility of data. But what is important as well is to be checking that data to make sure it is trustworthy, which also needs other technological innovations which we're using to be able to be doing that. But I can come back to that a little bit later.
Maxine, can you share the main challenges from your point of view of traceability and food safety and transparency?
I think a very big issue for the food and agriculture industry, it's a major contributor, also a major victim, and it is the solution to climate change we were talking about earlier. And the industry is impacted at all levels. So obviously at farm level, that's obvious, but also right through to the branded manufacturer and the consumer. Everybody is impacted. What is needed is to have more smarter food supply chains, and to be able to be predicting, measuring, and also assessing what is actually happening in those supply chains at each level, and to be bringing the solutions in there. And transparency and traceability from farm to fork is kind of the backbone to be able to be doing that, and to be digitally auditing the different actions, the practices at the farm, and the impact on the environment, and to be able to be using that information and sharing it with the different stakeholders along the supply chain to be improving those supply chains, making them more improving the impact on the environment, also the social impact, who made the food, how much they were paid, or the clothing, etc., at each level. And the data exists. So the biggest challenge is really to be able to collect that data in the different formats. If it can be a CSV spreadsheet, it could be coming out of an ERP system, and to be interoperable with Agritech solutions, which are already in place, connecting with factories, with products. So standardization is really a big thing. That's really what we're concentrating on. And then to be able to apply digital audits to make sure that those supply chains are compliant with deforestation, fair labor, or just food safety, to make sure that that food is compliant with the food standards and the specifications of the different brands or the retailers at the end of the line. So that's something that we're actually doing today. It's a reality, working with the biggest EU retailers and the biggest global food brands that are very interested in that, and communicating it to the institutions or to consumers to make sure that those food and agricultural supply chains are compliant, and then to be using that for predictability to tomorrow, which is another big subject that we could touch on in another day. But I think IA prediction is really very important in food supply chains, and having that data to be able to do that, and the modules to be able to do that, is very important. That's where Connecting Food comes into the game.